Dr. Membi's bold promise, give us a chance in 2026 Zambia's political future. Dr. Fred Membi has made a statement that could send shockwaves through Zambia's political scene. Give us a chance to lead in 2026, he says, and he promises, you will not regret it. But what exactly is Membi proposing? Is this a game changer for Zambia's future, or just another political promise? In the next few minutes, we'll break down what he said, the implications for the 2026 elections, and why both supporters and critics are paying close attention. Stay tuned. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. It's been quite a week here in southern Africa, with political temperatures rising as we edge closer to what promises to be one of Zambia's most consequential elections in recent history. And today, we're diving into a story that speaks to the very heart of Zambia's political crossroads. Our lead story, a veteran journalist turned revolutionary politician, makes a bold declaration that could reshape the opposition landscape in Zambia's 2026 presidential race. Picture this, a man who once wielded the pen as his weapon against corruption, now standing before thousands in rain-soaked streets, his voice rising above the downpour. A former press freedom hero who spent 26 years building one of Africa's most fearless newspapers, only to see it shuttered by the very government he once supported. And now, he's asking Zambians for something that has eluded him in every election cycle, a chance to lead. Dr. Fred Membi, award-winning journalist, qualified lawyer, convicted activist, and president of the Socialist Party of Zambia, has thrown down the gauntlet with a promise that reverberates across the nation: give us a chance to lead in 2026. You will not regret. But can a socialist vision take root in a nation still reeling from economic hardship? Can a man whose newspaper empire crumbled under tax disputes and government pressure now convince voters he can run an entire country? Will his calls for mining revenue redistribution, universal healthcare, and cooperative farming resonate with a population exhausted by load shedding and inflation? And perhaps most critically, in a political landscape where the ruling UPND government maintains structural advantages and the opposition remains fractured and leaderless, can Membi's Socialist Party transcend its status as a minor player to become a genuine force for change? Or is this bold promise merely another chapter in Zambia's long history of revolutionary rhetoric that fails to translate into electoral victory? The answers to these questions could determine not just Membi's political fate, but the future direction of Zambia itself. Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light through a series of recent statements and appearances by Dr. Membi as Zambia approaches its general election scheduled for August 13, 2026. To understand the magnitude of this moment, we must first understand the man making the promise. Fred Membi was born on March 11, 1959, in Mungu, Barotseland. He studied accounting at Copperbelt University and worked as an accountant before pivoting to journalism in November 1990. That same year, he co-founded The Post, Zambia's first truly independent daily newspaper, which would become legendary for its fearless investigative reporting on government corruption. For 26 years, Membi edited The Post, transforming it into a thorn in the side of successive governments. His journalism earned him international recognition. The International Press Institute named him a World Press Freedom Hero in 2000. He received the Percy Kaboza Foreign Journalist Award in 1999, the CPJ International Press Freedom Award in 1995, and was named International Editor of the Year by World Press Review in 1995. But this acclaim came at a steep price. Membi was arrested repeatedly, charged with espionage in 1999, defamation in 2001, and contempt of court in 2010, for which he served 4 months of hard labor. In 2016, The Post was placed under liquidation following tax disputes with the Zambian Revenue Authority, effectively ending his quarter-century reign as one of Africa's most influential editors. By 2018, Membi had made a definitive pivot. He founded the Socialist Party of Zambia, positioning himself as a radical alternative to the mainstream political establishment. Drawing inspiration from his membership in the Communist Party of South Africa during the anti-apartheid struggle and his admiration for Kenneth Kanda's anti-imperialist stance, Membi crafted a platform centered on wealth redistribution, state intervention in the economy, and resistance to what he terms neo-colonial exploitation. His entry into electoral politics began with the 2021 presidential election. Despite his profile, Membe secured less than 1% of the vote as Hakainde Hichilema's UPND swept to power with 59.02% against Edgar Lungu's 38.71%. Critics attributed the poor showing to the party's recent formation and Membe's reputation as a polarizing figure whose confrontational style alienated moderate voters. But Membe didn't retreat. Since 2021, he has sustained opposition scrutiny of President Hichilema's administration, emphasizing what he perceives as shortcomings in economic management despite the government's claims of successful debt restructuring and economic stabilization. The timeline of recent developments reveals an opposition in flux. Former President Edgar Lungu, who was initially positioned as the anchor for opposition forces, died from cardiac complications during surgery in South Africa on June 5, 2025. His death left a leadership vacuum in the loosely organized Tans Alliance, which Membe's Socialist Party had officially applied to join. In September 2025, Membe criticized the lack of a blueprint for opposition unity, stating that public calls for a single opposition candidate had unleashed opportunists behaving like gamblers in a casino. By November 2025, reports emerged of internal challenges within the Socialist Party itself, with Deputy General Secretary Kelvin Khanda openly declaring his intention to challenge Membe for the party presidency. Yet through all this turbulence, Membe's message has remained consistent. In his recent statement titled "Give Us a Chance to Lead in 2026, You Will Not Regret," he articulated a vision fundamentally different from both the ruling UPND and the fractured opposition. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. Let's examine Membe's own words, because they reveal not just policy proposals, but a fundamentally different vision for Zambia's future. In his recent statement published by the Zambian Observer, Membe declared, "The lasting solution to Zambia's deep economic difficulties does not lie in the IMF or in a debt restructuring deal. Our lasting solution lies in the collection of fair and adequate revenue from the mining sector for support to secondary industries such as manufacturing." He continued, "It lies in the development of the arts, a hugely important industry that those in power today have reduced to a footnote in a ministry. It lies in increased state support to agriculture and enhanced food security, but those in power today are quicker to listen to the IMF and remove subsidies on farming inputs even when the US and other Western countries still subsidize their own agriculture industry." His critique extended to social sectors. "It lies in increased state investment to social sectors such as education and health. This represents a direct challenge to the UPND government's market-oriented approach and its cooperation with international financial institutions." In a 2021 interview with Breakthrough News, Membe elaborated on his socialist convictions, stating unequivocally, "There's no other approach than the socialist approach." He positioned his ideology as essential to combat Zambia's entrenched poverty, noting that rates reached 82% in some regions and 76.6% in rural areas. The Socialist Party's 2020 manifesto promised revolutionary changes, including free universal education and healthcare, cooperative farming to boost food security, and increased Zambian ownership of resources like copper mining through fair taxation rather than immediate nationalization. When asked about his political influences, Membe traced his ideological roots to Southern African liberation movements. "In the left direction, my influence came from the South African Communist Party or the Communist Party of South Africa, as it was called then, and the African National Congress. I joined this African Communist Party in 1978 and I grew up there. I had access to very good people. Joe Slovo, Chris Hani, Ben Turok, and many others. So the ANC and this African Communist Party shaped my political outlook." On Kenneth Kanda's legacy, Membe offered a nuanced revolutionary perspective. Kenneth Kanda led a very strong anti-imperialist movement. He participated heavily in the liberation struggles of Southern Africa and in other parts of the continent. In that regard, he was a revolutionary. We socialists should not think that we are the only revolutionaries. Those who sacrifice everything to liberate their people from imperialist and colonial domination are also revolutionaries. But we socialists are of course the only revolutionaries who can carry out a socialist revolution. At a January 2020 rally in Lusaka's Maturo neighborhood, Membe painted a vivid picture of the inequality he seeks to address. Speaking to thousands of supporters gathered on rain-soaked ground, he recollected Zambia's post-independence socialist experiment. "I was among the first children of this country to start school after independence. Those who started school before independence had to pay. For us it was all free. We were given free uniforms, books, pencils, crayons and all the other materials we needed. We did not only go to school to learn but also to eat. We were fed at school. He described how the children of President Kanda slept in the same dormitories with the children of humble workers and peasants. Contrasting this with contemporary Zambia, Membi lamented, churches, schools, hospitals and social hangouts frequented by the poor are not the same used by the rich. You shop in different places. On a Saturday like today you go to different places for entertainment, to drink and dance. This is eliminating all social interaction between the wealthy and the toiling masses, splitting Zambia into two nations. He warned, tens of thousands of acres of forest land is being degazetted by the government to make way for luxury residencies of the ruling elites. No one in Kwai is ever allocated a plot there. They don't want to live with you poor people as their neighbors. They would rather go to the national parks and collect wild animals to live with as neighbors. His rallying cry was clear: it is time to break out of this capitalist degeneration and struggle with a clear and radical socialist vision and program for Zambia. But Membi's political journey has also been marked by continued confrontation with authorities. Following his August 2024 arrest on sedition charges for publishing an article about alleged Congolese payments to Zambian officials, Membi issued a defiant statement upon release. What we are seeing are actions of little frightened men, scared of their own shadows, because of the many crimes they have committed against the Zambian people. They promised things they can't do. They promised police bonds for bondable offenses, they don't do it. When arrested on espionage charges in November 2023 for an interview he gave about Zimbabwean elections, Membi condemned the charge in his police statement as a product of class ignorance and a reactionary mind of a puppet regime. He declared, Zambians are not enemies of Zimbabweans. We are one people with one destiny under the common struggle to liberate ourselves from imperialist and neo-colonialist subjugation, exploitation, and humiliation. On the challenges facing opposition unity, Membi observed in September 2025, abracadabra. Public calls for the opposition to unite and field one presidential candidate in the August 13, 2026 elections are loud and clear. But these calls are not accompanied by a blueprint of how this unity should be forged and how this single opposition candidate should be selected. Even as internal party challenges emerged, Membi maintained an open stance on leadership. In November 2025, he stated he is willing to step down if party members express the desire for new leadership. He does not lead the party with an iron fist, stressing that leadership within the Socialist Party is derived from the will of its members. Most recently, Membi has expressed concerns about the electoral process itself. Speaking on Hot FM, he stated, ECZ is not running the elections in this country, they are lying to you that they are running the elections. ECZ is dependent on the Ministry of Local Government which is run by politicians, it is dependent on Home Affairs to run the elections. He added, at the rate things were going, citizens should forget about having free and fair elections next year. Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. Membi's bold promise arrives at a critical juncture in Zambian politics, and its implications extend far beyond his personal political fortunes. First, let's examine the political landscape Membi is navigating. President Hakainde Hichilema's UPND government enters 2026 from a position of considerable structural strength. With 8.8 million registered voters, the UPND maintains solid support in its southern, western, and northwestern strongholds while expanding into traditionally opposition territories. Recent by-elections reveal the UPND's growing competitiveness even in former Patriotic Front strongholds in eastern, Muchinga, northern, and Luapula provinces. The ruling party's success stems partly from visible programs: free education that brought 2.3 million children back to school, expanded constituency development funds increasing from 1.8 million kwacha in 2021 to 49 million, and successful debt restructuring that made Zambia the first country to complete such negotiations since 2020. Yet economic anxiety persists. As political scientist Neo Simutanii observed, the economy is not doing very well, the cost of living is very high, and everyone is complaining. He added that while the UPND may receive more votes than any single opposition candidate, the big danger is that they may not secure the 50% plus one required to win the presidency. Against this backdrop, the opposition remains remarkably fragmented. Edgar Lungu's death removed what one analyst called the anchor for oppositionists. The Patriotic Front has been decimated by internal rifts, with leadership battles between Miles Sampa, Robert Shabinga, and others leaving the party structurally weakened. The TANS Alliance, which Membia's party sought to join, has seen defections including the National Congress Party's withdrawal. This fragmentation works against Membia's ambitions but also creates an opening. As one observer noted, for the first time since the 1991 general election, there will be no contender in the next year, one who presents a serious threat to the person currently in the presidential seat. Membia's socialist platform differentiates him ideologically, but presents electability challenges. One analysis noted, the Socialist Party remains small because socialism is not a natural Zambian ideology and its leader is viewed as elite. Despite gaining popularity among students, trade unions, and some rural communities, the party won no parliamentary seats in 2021. The policy substance of Membia's alternative vision challenges fundamental premises of the current government's approach. His emphasis on mining revenue collection contrasts sharply with the UPND's pro-investment stance. His call for agricultural subsidies directly opposes IMF-backed reforms. His vision of universal healthcare and education expansion requires state capacity and revenue that skeptics question Zambia possesses. International socialist organizations have expressed solidarity with Membi, particularly during his arrests. The National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa condemned the Zambian government for abusing its power and for silencing opposition parties, warning that intolerance of opposition politics is one of the hallmarks of an autocratic state. But domestic reaction has been more mixed. Comments sections on news articles reveal sharp divisions. Supporters see Membi as a visionary whose knowledge of Zambia's dynamics surpasses other candidates. The knowledge that he possesses about this country is above any of those vying for presidency today, and only a person who understands the dynamics of this country clearly can lead this country better. Critics counter with pointed skepticism about socialist economics. The problem with some Zambians is they think there is a silver bullet to solve economic challenges we are facing at the moment, not knowing that actually shortcuts make things worse. Others question Membia's motivations and past. We have already regretted your entering the Zambian political scene, which you have fouled with your smelly tribalism. The accusations of tribalism represent a serious vulnerability for Membia's national ambitions. His focus on criticizing President Hichilema personally rather than building broader coalitions has cost him credibility with some voters. Internal party dynamics add another layer of complexity. Kelvin Konda's challenge to Membia's leadership raises questions about organizational stability at a crucial moment. As one report noted, from a democratic standpoint, this development could be viewed as a healthy competition within the SP. However, it also raises critical questions about the confidence the party's structures have in Membia's leadership. The electoral mathematics present daunting challenges. In 2021, Membi received a minuscule share of votes. Even with opposition fragmentation, building a winning coalition from this base would require unprecedented mobilization and coalition building. Yet Membia's campaign has secured some infrastructure advantages. Reports indicate he obtained a helicopter for campaign traversals, suggesting access to financial resources that could enhance visibility. His concerns about electoral integrity deserve serious attention. His claims that ECZ is not running the elections and that the process is controlled by politicians echo broader concerns about institutional independence in African democracies. The Electoral Commission's proposal to extend the deadline for announcing presidential results by 4 days has raised questions about transparency. Perhaps most fundamentally, Membi represents an ideological challenge to the Washington consensus policies that have dominated Zambian economic management since 1991. His call to reject IMF prescriptions and pursue resource nationalism reflects frustrations with market-oriented reforms that have failed to translate into broad-based prosperity. Whether this message resonates with a population exhausted by economic hardship but wary of radical alternatives remains the central question of his campaign. Thank you so much for watching today's documentary on Dr. Fred Membia's bold promise to lead Zambia in 2026. This story raises fundamental questions about Zambia's political and economic future. Will voters embrace Membia's socialist vision as an alternative to the current government's market-oriented approach? Can the opposition overcome its fragmentation to mount a serious challenge? And will Membi's transformation from journalist to revolutionary politician succeed where his previous electoral efforts failed? As Zambia approaches this critical election on August 13, 2026, these questions will shape not just the immediate outcome, but the country's trajectory for years to come. We want to hear from you. What do you think of Dr. Membi's promise? Do you believe his socialist platform offers genuine solutions to Zambia's economic challenges, or do you see it as unrealistic given the country's integration into global markets? Should the opposition unite behind a single candidate, and if so, should it be Membi? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and your perspectives help shape our future coverage. If you found this documentary informative, please consider subscribing to the InspirAfrica official channel and hitting that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into African politics, economics, and social transformation. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories that matter from across the continent. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep questioning the narratives that shape our world. This is Nakash, signing off. Take care.